I'm often asked what people think they should do in preparing their home for the market. And while a lot of this stuff seems obvious to me, I forget daily that I do this day in and day out, so I can see what does look good, what doesn't look good, what should be done, what shouldn't be done. Whereas if this is your first time selling, or even your second, third, fourth time selling, but you aren't sure if you've prepared the house properly in the past, like, by all means, keep watching. I'm happy to share. But if you are a seasoned pro or a stager, or you have one of those Pinterest perfect homes, this might not be so much for you. This might be a little bit more obvious, but in all honesty, I would say the majority of people do need some help, at least somewhere along the process. Hi, I'm Jennifer Queen with the Jennifer Queen team and Remax Professionals here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And every year we list several houses, over 100 in the Winnipeg area. And what we have found is that it's not uncommon for people to really not know where to start, what to do, what has the best return when preparing their home for market. So to that end, I'm gonna go through the projects that you really wanna work on. Most of them are inexpensive. We're not talking crazy substantial amounts of money, but a lot to do with creating as much of a blank canvas for a purchaser as you can. I use blank canvas loosely because you do still want some personality. You don't want your home white and sterile and just too cold for the buyers coming in, although I know I personally live that way. But when you are showing your home, what you want to do is create a welcoming, warm environment that still is quite, that's still an inspirational place that people can see themselves and their families within. So decluttering and depersonalizing is step number one. If there's one thing I want you to hear in this video, it is these 3 words: clutter eats equity. I'm gonna say it again, clutter eats equity. And that is so true. I've always used a lot more words to describe that, and then at a real estate conference just recently, the speaker used that terminology, and I couldn't have said it better. Those 3 words, clutter eats equity. So to that end, rough rule of thumb, no more than 3 items on any flat surface. So if you have a kitchen surface, let's limit it to a knife block, a toaster, and maybe your coffee maker, or something like that. If it's a small kitchen, we're gonna be talking even less. Same for coffee tables, end tables, anything, any flat surface. There should be no more than 3 items. Less than 3 items is fine, but definitely no more than 3. And also, when it comes to photography and whatnot, I find that anything smaller than a cantaloupe does look cluttered. So just keep that in mind, kind of limit what you do have up and around. The depersonalization piece is also strong in there. I find a lot of the time, if you have personal pictures, particularly up in the primary bedrooms, main living areas, that can be a turnoff for buyers. They have a hard time picturing themselves within the home if it's your face everywhere, because this is somebody else's home. They are seeing reminders of you everywhere through it. I'm okay with the occasionally placed photo, perhaps not in such sensitive areas like hallways, those sorts of things that people might see as they're going. It is still distracting, I'm not gonna lie. When I'm touring with buyers, they will stop and look at your pictures. So it does still detract from the home and the tour, but if you keep some up, I'm not gonna say this is horrible, but I would say definitely limit it and not keep it in such personal areas like main living spaces where these people want to envision life with their family, or in the bedroom. 2 thing you want to do. So far, we're not talking anything expensive. This step is not expensive either. We're talking a deep cleaning. So I don't know if you've experienced it, but if you've been out touring homes and you can tell they did a clean, but if you look closely, there's like dog fur in all of the registers, and the corner of the baseboard, it's like built up dirt and filth and grime. It's indication for people that perhaps the home hasn't been well cared for over the years. And just those little indications, just small little specks of dirt. I know I'm being super nitpicky here, but seeing just kind of gross like ring around the sink, those sorts of things, that really does add up in the mind of the buyer and make them feel like the house has not been well cared for. So if you are prepared to get into those corners with Q-tips and toothbrushes and give it a really good scrub, I would highly recommend hiring a company to come in and do a thorough deep clean. We have a few companies that we work with that specialize in move in and move out cleans. And we're not talking about just these baseboards and things that I mentioned. Like, we're talking fridges too. People, if the fridge is included, are gonna open the door and look in. And if your fridge is disgusting, it grosses people out. They don't wanna live in that or feel like the house is gonna be filthy or is filthy just under the covers kind of thing. Number 3 is, again, not very expensive, but making those necessary little repairs. So we're not talking anything crazy. We're talking if you open a kitchen cabinet door and it's loose and it kind of doesn't close properly, when you go, you have to know the trick to close it. Those kinds of adjustments. Or like if a door is super creaky when you open it, WD-40 goes a long way. A leaky faucet, for example, is another thing. Just these little items, just like super nitpicky little things that you might not even notice anymore living within the home, but that somebody that's buying the house is really going to notice and is going to bother them, and again be an indication that you don't properly care for the home. Neutralizing your paint colors. So I know this kills the soul of so many, and I get it, but when you are selling your home, think hotel room, think neutrals. Think about the last hotel experience you had, unless you went to some kind of experiential place. Most hotels, or the ones that actually sell, or the ones that actually tend to rent out for the most per night, are those that create kind of that luxury 5-star experience. We're talking white bedding, white pillows, white towels, all that kind of stuff, and they feel clean and sparkly. So similar in their paint colors, they're usually a pretty neutral color that's used throughout that keeps it consistent. We're not talking about dramatic walls or anything as people are touring. Again, it's part of creating that blank canvas for people that they can envision themselves within. You are totally right, and every seller says this to me as an argument to this. The new buyer is going to paint anyways, and you're totally right. They probably will paint the house anyways. However, it is hard for people to see the space for what it is if there is a lot of distraction in terms of paint and colors, and it's just too much almost for some people to take in. So neutralizing the area so that they can really see the space goes a long way. Also, unless you had your walls painted in the last couple years, they start to look tired anyways. So updating things with a fresh coat of paint goes a long way. So again, not an expensive thing to do. In fact, I think so far paint, maybe some of the little repairs around the house are the most expensive. Curb appeal is no different. We're talking usually sweat equity that people do. We're talking about trimming hedges, making sure everything looks kempt and clean around the house. If it's winter, we're talking about shoveling driveways and putting salt down. If we're talking wintertime, a nice wreath on the door goes a long way. But we're not talking anything too crazy, just good first impressions. You don't want people walking up to the house and saying, hey, this sidewalk is chipping in need of repair. This is a situation where you want to maximize your dollar return by making investments that give the impression that the home is well cared for, because it is, right? As they tour. Number 6 on my list was staging. So staging doesn't have to be over the top, and if you are on this channel, we did record a video about the staging options in Winnipeg, so be sure to find that video. I can link it in the comments section below. But what I mean when I say staging is doing what you can to really enhance the space. So it could be your own furniture. If you have ratty-tatty run down because the kids have spilled juice on it and the dog has torn it up or the cat has torn it up or anything like that, then yeah, we might need to bring some pieces in, and that's okay. But if we're talking like stuff that's been decently well cared for, a lot of the time owners have bought furniture to suit their own spaces. We can work with it, but we're going to probably move some of it around and do what we can to improve flow and appeal for the typical buyer. The goal ultimately of staging is to really highlight the best feature of each room. Sometimes when you live within the home, you almost become houseblind and don't see how it could be set up better or differently. So part of our process is always bringing a stager through and walking room by room with you to see what we can do with existing furniture, and then of course if we need to bring pieces in. but a lot of the time what we find is what's there is already perfect. We just need to optimize it. For example, I just had clients this past week where we were resetting up their living room, and they have beautiful furniture, all from Design Manitoba. Like, we're talking beautiful pieces, and it was a simple fix of just turning everything by 90 degrees. And it completely impacted the space and how the flow of the room worked, and I think it looks amazing. The next topic to me is always such a given, but I'm shocked by how many clients don't know it. So I don't know. I do remember this being part of the early on training, as a realtor at least, when we are getting our license and we're being taught how to open up properties properly for clients. A lot of that is getting to the house before them, turning on lights, opening blinds, etc. Same with open houses. That's the first thing we do. And really it's because the importance of natural light. People do not like spaces that feel dark. They might, once they take possession, close those blinds and curtains all the time and never let the natural light in. But when it's not your space, it's a foreign space you're coming into and it's dark, it feels creepy, it doesn't feel warm and welcoming. What you want to do is create as much both natural light as you possibly can for those daytime hours, and then synthetic light in the evening. Like, we're not talking like hospital operating room, we're talking warm lights and hues, but creating that ambiance so that the place is warm and welcoming. Where one room might have bright white lights and another will have warm, and then it's just kind of stark contrast and the place doesn't feel cohesive and together. So kind of working on that hue and making sure that all of your light bulbs are also working and the place is nice and bright when we want it to be, that goes a long way. Number 8 is removing pet odors and evidence of pets. So we're not saying hide from people that you have pets within the home. That's absolutely not what we're trying to do. There is a section that we can select as realtors on our system that says no pet home if that is true. However, it's not necessarily true all that often. A lot of people do have pets. However, we don't want to draw attention to the fact that there are pets living within the home. People get grossed out sometimes. Some people are germaphobes and they don't want to know that there's going to be dog fur kicking around the house as they move about. So doing whatever you can to keep the place clean and fresh and airy. There's also people too that you have to keep in mind have allergies, so dander and whatnot. If you can, I know this isn't an option for everybody, but if you can, while the home is for sale, move those pets out, start deodorizing, so getting carpets cleaned, washing walls, all that kind of stuff to kind of eliminate the impact of the pets. That goes a long way. Getting ducts cleaned as well also would be a recommendation I have. What I was told by an allergist is that pet dander can be irritating to somebody with pretty severe allergies for 3 weeks, but beyond that, like, I don't understand how pet dander works, but beyond that, essentially it no longer bothers them. So doing what you can to minimize that impact on those with allergies. And what I'm finding more and more lately is it seems like more and more of our buyer pool does have allergies. I don't know if it's just something about the way we were raised, but yeah, we are finding more allergies and more sensitivities. Number 9 on the list of preparing your home for showings is securing your valuables. Now, I don't want to cause any concern here that's unnecessary, but I do want to be preventative. We don't want to leave super valuable things out and about just tempting people. Every buyer coming through the house should be properly vetted, so that means they provided a pre-approval, their agent has identified them for federal requirements anyways already. They should be properly vetted. However, you just never know. You don't want to tempt people. There could be children in the tour with them that have sticky fingers. I have sold a lot of houses at this point in my career, and I can proudly say I haven't had anything stolen with the exception of one item. It was at an open house many moons ago, and I had somebody steal the seller's tube of lipstick. So it was at an open house. We think it was probably like a young child that just snagged it off the dresser. Nobody noticed until they probably got home and said, where the heck did this come from? But it was a very random thing to go missing, but my client knew it was missing. So just one of those things that it can happen. Let's not tempt fate here, or let's not put those temptations out there. Just secure your valuables. Anything you would be sad to see go missing, maybe lock it up, hide it. put it out of sight when you're having showings. And number 10 is, when you're preparing for showings, is always plan to keep it tidy. It is painful at some point, especially if you have a young family in the home, to make all the beds properly that day, to put all the laundry away, you name it, I get it. But what I will say is I can almost guarantee you that it is the one day that you don't do that you are going to get 2 showing requests. So just always being prepared goes a really long way. And it also keeps you more lenient for those last minute showing requests. So not that they happen a lot, but they can. And of course, the last minute showing request is always the one that loves the house and writes an offer. Sometimes that's just the way it shakes out. So those are the things you can do to prepare your home for showings. Again, we're trying to create as welcoming and appealing of an environment as we possibly can for your potential buyer. And then doing these items and these items alone, while not expensive, not too crazy, they go a long way. Again, I'm Jennifer Queen with the Jennifer Queen team and RE/MAX Professionals here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. If you found this video helpful, please be sure to hit that like button. It really does help in determining just what kind of content to come out with next. We plan on putting out a ton of content in 2024 as well, so be sure to subscribe to our channel so you get all the latest in terms of tips, market updates, as well as some video highlights too that we have coming out this year. Again, thanks for watching. Have a good one.